Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of CW Movie Night. I am joined by Dean the Dream and Mike's the Scale Collector. How you guys doing?
Not too bad.
Doing good, man. Glad to be here.
Wow, that's good to hear. I was a little worried with the movie selection this month, as it were now. But we watched our first documentary for CW Movie Night, and it's all about
Extraterrestrials.
and
Or lack thereof.
Oh boy. Okay. That's good. That's good. It's a good way to start it off. So we're definitely going to be talking about Moment of Contact, which is the second most recent James Fox space alien UFO documentary. The one before this was called The Phenomenon, and it was quite critically acclaimed. And apparently, it's actually required viewing for the current what do you call it? There's like a current Defense Department like fake Project Blue Book task force, and they all have to watch James Fox's documentary when they join on, which is pretty amazing. But
Why does
well,
that not surprise me?
so were you familiar with this director before this? Either of you guys?
No.
He's been on
No.
Rogan like 3 or 4 times, so he's sort of out there, but
Oh, wow.
basically every time he has a new film out, Rogan brings him on, and he's been around for I think his first UFO documentary came out like 20 years ago at this point, and they were a little they were a little rocky until the Phenomenon, which is like the one before this, and it's pretty much just it's a little more it's a little more fact driven and less whimsical, but basically this one is a deep dive on a specific case that I think you guys, I think Dean, at least you said you'd heard of the case before, and
Yeah, I
the
was pretty familiar with it.
yeah, exactly. Basically the synopsis is it's an exploration of extraterrestrial encounters centered on a series of events in 1996 when citizens of Varginha, Brazil reported seeing a UFO crash and one or more strange creatures. Now, for me, this was like, I remember hearing about this like early internet days, and I remember like finding a sketchy website that had like alleged pictures of the aliens like in the jungle and stuff, and I was trying so desperately to find that stuff now, and it's like it's kind of crazy the way Google has become, where like you only like the first like 20 pages are like so much like sponsored like higher end content that it's really hard to find these like grungy websites that were like made by like one guy in 1998 anymore, even if they're still supported. Like it's really hard to locate that stuff if you don't know what it's called. But and like I remember seeing like some weird pictures of these supposed aliens like way back that I was not able to find on the internet period at this point, which was kind of crazy. But basically, like the synopsis said, some aliens some guy says he saw an alien spaceship crash, or 2 or 3 people say they saw an alien spaceship crash in this town called Virginia in Brazil in
Virginia.
1996. Virginia.
Not
Yeah.
Virginia.
Yeah.
Virginia.
The Brazil version. Yeah. And basically let's hear from our good buddy John about how the wider public perceive this film.
Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. Beautiful day over here in Canada, finally getting some sunshine. I'm here to give you the IMDb rating as well as Rotten Tomatoes score on this week's movie, Moment of Contact. Runtime of 1 hour and 48 minutes, kicking it off with IMDb. It got a 7.1 out of 10. Moving on over to Rotten Tomatoes, no tomato meter score, which was really odd. No ratings there, but the popcorn meter got 90% with 100 plus reviews. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Kicking it back to you guys in the studio. See ya next time.
Okay,
It's-
so this is funny.
It's information suppression. That's why it's not on the
Yeah,
tomato score.
right.
Okay,
Been censored.
but it goes to show you, like, you can go on Rogan to promote your new documentary, 30 billion people watch you in like one day, and you still can't get more than 2 critic reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. You hate to see it. Like, what's the point of buying an ad? You know what I mean?
Right?
That's crazy. Like, like Rogan brings him on every movie. He was on recently for his new movie called The Program. And you can't. The critics just won't watch it. You know, they're bought and sold. Tell you what.
Yeah.
And you guys are like about right, but the UFO believers got on there and got it a 90% popcorn meter at least.
90%?
With
That's
100 plus
generous.
100 dudes made it happen.
I will say, that. Because you were like, hey, we should talk about this. And I was like, oh, I'm pretty familiar with that case. Like, I think it could be interesting. So I watched it literally, I finished it like 45 minutes ago.
Nice.
And when I started it, I was like, man, this is going to be like janky. Like, this is going to be like low budget, like handy cameras. But the production quality was pretty high.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like his 10th film, but his first couple are exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. And like I was expecting, yeah, like, I mean, like, it was clear. The audio was clean. It was nice. I was like, oh, this is not what I expected at all.
Bare minimum standard of production value achieved. That's good.
Yeah. Cause like sometimes you watch some stuff on YouTube and you know, people are like just getting started or something or,
yeah. Well,
you know,
I don't know if I want to necessarily direct people to where they could find this, but I think James Fox himself said that the production company he made this with basically screwed him over to the point where he didn't get paid a cent for the movie. So I don't think he's mad if you can find it for free on the internet anywhere, because he had a very public falling out with the people who own the rights to the movie. But I think he's having a director's cut coming out, because if he's not back in Brazil shooting a follow-up to this right now, he was within the last month or so. And I got a little bit on that at the end. But basically, let's get into it a little bit here. Spoilers for a 1996 case. Okay, so this title card comes up at the beginning, and there's no if this was accurate, it really brings a layer of legitimacy to this whole story, because it says in January 1996, North American Aerospace Defense Command NORAD warns Brazilian authorities that the radar has picked up a UFO activity near Virginia, Brazil. Okay, so I've heard James Fox talk about what the source was for that, and he was apparently like it's unfortunately sort of a trust me bro thing, because basically one guy that he vetted the background of, that he was in a position to know, gave him that information, but he didn't want to have his name out there. So it's like James Fox says he vetted the guy, but you don't have a name for somebody who worked at NORAD who said that happened. But if you did, the whole thing gets even weirder. But I mean, that's a big allegedly on NORAD warning Brazilian authorities. But yeah, but apparently this did hit the news pretty hard, and you had a lot of people reporting strange stuff, but not a lot of video evidence or anything like that. But of course, it is 1996, and it's the Phoenix Lights was a year after this big UFO sighting in Phoenix, Arizona, and there were a lot more video cameras there. And it's a big city in the U.S. Phoenix is like the 4th or 5th biggest city in the U.S., something like that. And like there's like 3 crappy standard def videos of that. So you wouldn't expect that much in the 7th most populated city of Brazil in 1996, most likely. So, but apparently this town has really taken to the legend and made a UFO monument in the center of downtown, even though it really doesn't look much like the alleged crash ship that was supposed to have crashed there. This is like your classic UFO, and the witnesses reported like a long cigar-shaped object that crashed. But what I thought was really interesting is it goes through a few historical cases in the area near the beginning. It just gives you a montage that people were seeing these little goofy aliens in the town. And
Yeah, it kind of seemed like they were establishing this as a hotspot for alien
yeah.
activity, right?
Yeah, and they did include like I mean this Brazilian army press
This
conference
guy.
guys like we got nothing to hide. It's like why did you blockade this town? We got nothing to hide.
Right? But I'm telling you nothing because I don't have to.
Yeah.
I
And I
This
mean,
guy was
mean,
a
bro,
dick.
if I was a fucking professional and these people are like, what were you doing there? And it's like, okay, we were doing a training exercise. Prove it. I don't fucking owe you an explanation. Like, I just told you what we were doing.
well,
You know what I mean? Like, I have better shit to do than entertain your fucking wild fantasies.
But Dean, if that excuse
The
wouldn't
national
fly,
press.
but that excuse wouldn't fly in like downtown LA or like New York or anything. You know what I mean? You're not going to set up a military barricade, say we're doing an exercise in the middle of downtown with no warning. You know what I mean? Like
Well, LA and
that's
New York people don't believe in aliens.
well, they got yeah, well they don't yeah, they think there's more pressing concerns, which there's basically not. But here you go. So this
Chris,
guy is
let me
go ahead.
interrupt and just point
Yeah.
out Sam in the chat states that he was actually in Phoenix for the Phoenix Lights, which is
Hot
fucking
take.
crazy.
I
Oh,
believe
that's
it.
cool.
Sam, that's really cool. I believe aliens are here, but I 100% think the Phoenix Lights were military flares. I have no doubt in my mind that's what they were. But because like they you know why? Because every video of them looks like military flares. Every available
That's what they
video,
want them to look like, Chris.
every available video of the Phoenix Lights absolutely looks like flares. So like if you I don't know if you believe that or not, Sam, but Equan is all about. Equan says the aliens are everywhere. You know, Robert Bigelow of
Equan may
Bigelow
actually be an
Aerospace.
alien.
The,
Whoa, now.
Collecting human feet.
I don't know if that's public knowledge, Mike. So you should probably. I don't know. but
ICE is gonna be knocking on his door any second now. Because
yeah.
of you.
So like no, but I mean this guy's
Good.
so this guy's a
Jeez.
this guy's a was a former brigadier general in the Brazilian Air Force. And I know Dean must be thinking, oh, maybe the Brazilian Air Force is not as prestigious as the American Air Force, and that's why
I didn't
this guy,
think that.
because this guy's in the documentary saying that
Yeah.
governments cover up stuff they don't understand and they don't want to explain to their population. And he was basically in the government when this happened, and he's saying he's dancing around, he's tap dancing around the issue. He's happy to be in the documentary, but he won't confirm it 100%. And this when this guy popped up, okay, so have you guys seen this guy before?
Um
Okay, this is basically the most famous UFO researcher ever, basically. And it was really crazy for me to see him because he's been dead for like 6 years. This documentary was being produced for like a 10-year period, basically. So like he died in like 2019 or 2020, and he's he was a legitimately a nuclear physicist who was researching this as a pastime for like 40 years, and he even did the only presentation on I think it was military sightings to the United Nations in like the 70s or something like that. But
wow.
yeah, he was living in I think New Brunswick, Canada, and the some local university there got his like massive archive of files when he passed away a few years ago. But you know, he was real early on somebody who um risked his reputation to like say that he thinks there's a there, even though he was like working within government and had plenty of credentials to like do legitimate things. But yeah, it's cool to see him in there. They didn't have a whole lot of screen time though.
No, he didn't. I'm surprised you say that he was as famous as he was, and I thought like
Yeah.
he just had like maybe 30 seconds of screen time.
Something tells me maybe the interview was not necessarily for this, but he had access to it or something, and it was just
Mm.
done near the end there. But yeah, we see our director James Fox landing in Brazil, explains the case a little bit, shows how there was a media frenzy talking about aliens being captured back at the time. And you see this guy who is a military police officer, Marco Chirizi or something like that is his name, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
And he allegedly died from having physical contact with the space aliens. It took about a week to die from a horrible infection. Sam says, I'm not a conspiracy theorist because I don't care unless I see something, but those Phoenix lights were crazy. Were the only crazy thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know what they were, but I can't explain it. But I still don't care. So he saw the aliens and he's still not interested. That's that I'm jealous, Sam. But yeah, but like you have these three, they show these there's these three girls, like I think it's two sisters and like their babysitter were going through like an alleyway, and they say they saw the alien hunched over against the brick wall there. And they're interesting. They're interesting characters. They're pre-establishing it. Apparently, this alien picture was something taken by the Brazilian Navy. Like,
Bro,
I don't know if you're allowed to just say that if it's not true, but it's in the documentary.
those photos are supposedly taken from like I think it was like the 60s or something, or like late
Yeah.
50s.
Yeah.
And I was like, these fucking photos are clear as shit.
Dude,
Because this is very zoomed in. This is punched in. That photo is huge.
yeah, but 35
And I was
millimeter
like-
cameras could do that, Dean. That's not, the resolution was there. That's why you can do a 4K scan of 1968 Planet of the Apes, man. The film resolution is good enough if it held up that long. It was only TV. It was only TV that was standard def. That's
Oh,
if
okay,
you saw a
that's
movie
fair.
in theaters, it was good quality. But yeah, but I don't know. I mean, like these pictures are sort of goofy looking, but if the Navy's gonna say they took them, that's kind of interesting because it's like if it's not true, why are you saying that, right? And this guy is supposedly the only witness to the crash of the UFO. He's a pretty interesting character. I suppose Dean thinks he's like full of shit, basically.
Oh, okay, well, let's get the.
We'll get there. He gave one interview on TV in 1996 after he saw the alien crash, and then he goes quiet for several years until this documentary. But he basically didn't do any other interviews on it for 26 years. This was cool. They go and set up signs on the street like real old school, and within like a couple hours they have guys who remember the military blockade and like were there. Like it's like they find people who saw weird stuff like immediately.
Yeah, this is
Hey,
the
we're
part that
shooting a
confused
movie.
me.
Come tell us some stuff.
Right. So this is the part that confused me because it says if you have any information about this incident, let us know. It's very specifically says this incident. It says the date on it.
Yeah, but
And
this guy remembers the barricades, but he
the
didn't say anything
barricades.
weird.
The guy directly afterward talks about seeing the UFO and describes a completely different craft.
Yeah, but it matches something other people saw who are also interviewed, right? That there's like a family later who seems to have seen that same thing. But yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, 'cause
there's a couple
he
instances-
A little bit of
describes-
contradiction in some.
Yeah, he describes a cylinder, your typical UFO, right? Like the one we just saw in that photo.
Yeah.
But the one that they're talking about that crashed in the field that these beings came out of, that the old couple saw in the farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like a pill-shaped bus-sized thing. And I was like, I'm watching this and I was like, what are we talking about? Because like everybody has a different story.
There's a timeline.
Everybody has
Yeah. I think you missed the timeline a little bit, but that is a bit confusing. But like,
So,
I think
but
it's-
at one
go ahead.
point, and forgive me if I'm skipping ahead,
Yeah.
but at one point
Yeah.
they talk about, if I'm remembering correctly, right, the ship that crashes was kind of the cigar shaped one. But
Yeah.
wasn't there one point they were talking about there was another ship that came in? It was basically like doing a scan over the area, like it was looking for the cigar ship.
There was so there's a family later that says they saw that something flying over the town looking like it was searching. But I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
they'd be looking for ET running around.
But they
with
never
Elliot.
set up a timeline for that.
But I'm
So,
saying maybe that
I think
that search craft
Yeah.
was the saucer shaped one.
Yeah,
If we're trying to put
yeah.
it all together,
Yeah.
I don't.
okay.
Yeah, that
I'll
was
play
my
ball.
understanding. That was my understanding.
Right, just go with it.
Well, I think that's sort of like an ancillary detail. The first thing James Fox does is he goes to talk to the mayor, which I thought was kind of a waste of time because he's just like all about tourism, and he's like, "Yeah, bro, it definitely totes happened. I have no personal knowledge of it, but I believe that it's entirely possible."
Right, he's got like a spaceship like on his desk or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. He's like tourism number one. Okay, so this couple says they didn't see the crash, but they saw the pill shaped spaceship on fire or smoking fly past their farm, and they didn't specifically see the crash, but they do describe it much the same way, down to the smoke being white and not black as this guy does. So these are, he was driving down the road and saw it and got out of his car and followed along. And this couple is owned one of the nearby farms. I'm not sure if it was it's not clear to me if it was the farm that it actually crashed on that they owned or if it was like right nearby. But they describe the same sort of thing. They say it looks like a submarine because it was floating. They don't run down and see the crash site. They're just like, yeah, that was weird. Anyways.
Better
On
things to
with
do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the deep conspiracy is that the Americans fired a missile at it, and that's why it crashed, and they let Brazil know. But the
That sounds
UFOs,
plausible.
the UFOs have no ray shields apparently, so they took the L. But yeah, so the story, there's the three witnesses. This guy's name is Carlos de Souza. He's the guy who saw it actually crash, according to him, and he did this is his first interview since 1996. And basically, I think he's like, I think I've read that he is a history professor in Brazil, and he's like a pilot. So he's like, he's not that sketchy of a dude. He hasn't made a career out of touring UFO conventions or anything like that, right? And he's sort of describing that he saw it along the road, and then he got out of his car and like chased into a field, and he saw it yeah. Go ahead.
This guy's segment kind of bothered me a little bit. I felt like the director was kind of pushing him towards what they wanted, right? So like they kind of got out there and he's like, I don't remember. He's like, well, this looks like a field like you talked about in 96. Like, oh yeah. And like, I don't know. He's like, oh, but there's a house over there. Could that be it? Oh yeah. It seemed a little like,
Yeah, this is a little
he
forced.
was kind of guiding them to
I don't
where
know.
they needed to get.
Cause, well, the thing is, I don't know, man. I felt differently about it just cause, like, if I was watching it back today a little bit, and like, there's a part where it's almost seems like he's throwing in the towel on finding the spot, and he's like, it's hard to remember. I don't know. It looked different.
Yeah.
And it's like they keep walking and they find the house that was overgrown at this point. And I mean, if like he was saying there was a White House that somewhere down there before they saw it. I mean,
He said house.
yeah, well, I don't know if they keep saying why does it have to be white? But
He
they
didn't
keep
specify why, but
they kept label. I'm pretty sure he did, but they keep labeling it a White House on the drone shots. But he seems pretty convinced that he found the spot, and he has a little bit of an emotional meltdown when they sort of get to the spot where he thinks it happened. And I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know if like it just seems like a weird thing for this guy to do at this stage of his life if it's like all nonsense. You know what I mean? He also like later alleges that he was like threatened to like not talk about it, and that's why he didn't do interviews for like years. Here's like a rendering of what he says it looked like when it crashed. There was like foil bits all over the place. I think he even says that he like crunched up a tiny little piece of it, and it was like memory metal, and it like unfolds back, which is actually exactly the same thing that Jesse Marcel said about the Roswell crash, which is like I mean, it's hard to say. Like, do you look at that as a red flag because he like remembered reading something about an interview from Roswell and just said the same thing, or is it, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's that's a tough call right there.
Yeah.
But he's, I mean, I don't know. His reaction seemed genuine. I feel like right before they found that spot, he was like not really committing that it was the right area. So that, I mean, that gave it a little bit of credibility for me. And so he alleges that the military shows up real quick and throws him out at gunpoint basically and starts setting up a perimeter. It'd be real interesting if James Fox could find one of these guys. Because if one of these guys says, "Yeah, we were there," like that's, you know, that would bring a lot to it. Of course, they know they'll set up military blockades in the town, but this is a sort of a separate incident. This guy was funny. He was like 16 or something back when it happened, and he was trying to go to the gym, and the army guys set up a barricade and wouldn't let him go to the gym. And he's like, "It's a free country, man. I can go wherever I want."
But yet he
like,
didn't.
try it.
All they did was shake their heads no. So he gave up and went home.
Yeah. But the thing that he started hitting on here is like, we all remember this day because this sort of thing doesn't happen here. Like, the army doesn't roll into the middle of town and set up barricades. It never happened before that, and it hasn't happened since, which I think is an interesting detail. Because it's like there's not a base there. It's sort of out of the way. What were they doing there that day?
Yeah, I mean, that seems legit, right? I mean, obviously, it could be any number of things, but yeah, something definitely happened. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, that's not an everyday occurrence.
But it happens to be just a few days after a few people saw a spaceship crash out in a field nearby. I don't know.
Was it a few days? Because I wasn't
Yeah.
really sure what the timeline was on
Yeah.
that. Okay.
It is. It's. I think it's like less than a week, but it's close. So here's something James Fox did, which I really appreciated. Like, you know, there's a few disparate accounts here of like a few girls saw a space alien. Military police might have caught a space alien here or there. Where'd the crash happen? Where's the military blockades? And they throw in these drone shots where they sort of like show you that like a lot of this stuff happened within like 3 blocks. And it's like they show, you know, you saw an aerial view of the town like before that. Like, these people don't know each other, like, really, you know what I mean? Like, it's like they're some family drama has been going on for years, especially with the family of the guy who died. Like, you know, it's like his case has been litigated, and it's like, you know, these people, a lot of the people still live in the town, right? Like, they haven't even moved really, and like
Yeah.
and a lot of the stuff just happened like right in the same neighborhood, and it's not a small town like geographically. Like, this is a couple blocks.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Thomas,
Sorry, I
yeah,
was just going to say that these shots were helpful because it really did paint the picture that all these stories were taking place in the same, you know, square block or two. So they definitely
yeah,
put some precedent on
yeah.
that.
Thomas thinks they were there to deport some aliens. It was 1996, and it's in Brazil, so I don't think. I don't know. Thomas, do you believe that the aliens are real? Or let's get some more Thomas comments in the chat. But yeah, the girls see, you know, there's a blockade. The blockade where the guy says they wouldn't let him go to the gym is right over there, and then just in here, 3 little girls see the space aliens, like right next to the blockade. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
That the blockade that we know happened for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're literally
are,
blocking off the road to this alley. And
that's
it's not like
crazy.
they were like a street over or something like that. I mean, it's literally the only road into this alley.
Yeah, exactly. And the alley's still there. You know, not a lot of development. They bring they bring back the 3 girls who saw it. They all still totally stand by what they saw, which is like, not one of them's cracked. Not one of them says, "Nah, we made that up." And she was the babysitter. She says she saw it too. And it's crazy when they cut back to these interviews like 26 years earlier, and they're in the exact same alley, and the bricks have not changed.
Yeah.
You know, Dean, they didn't do it for you, huh? You don't buy this? What do you think they saw?
Are you familiar with the show The Y Files on YouTube?
If you're gonna talk about the homeless guy, I have him later. He's coming up. So there's
Yeah.
allegedly, yeah. I mean, there is an explanation that there was like a real sketchy homeless guy in the alley.
Yeah. So here's the thing. These girls, there was no talk, zero talk of a spacecraft. And so after these girls came out to say they saw something, they originally said it was a demon, which I think they say in this video.
These girls never, of course, these girls never, why would they think it's an alien? They never heard of the spacecraft. They just saw something crazy.
So they initially say, oh, it's like a demon, a chupacabra, because at the time, the chupacabra was kind of like a thing.
Here's an amazing visual reference to the homeless guy Dean's talking about. Which some guy on Reddit put a crappy picture of the alien trying to compare facial details.
Well, because they have no. He's extremely like well known in the area, and the crouching position that he's in is like what he does. The Y-Files has better pictures. I'll see if I could share the screen here in a second. I'll pull up the picture, but it's like, oh, I could see. Because apparently that night, in fact, it's confirmed by the reporter that they talked to that the storm came in like the night before. There was a big storm. So it's like, it's not, and this guy is homeless, living not near the area. He lived in the alley that they saw him in.
Yeah, but you don't think they saw him before that?
Well, they said they knew who he was. But when they first asked the girls about him, they were like, oh, we don't know who that guy is. So their story has changed. Let's not.
What about
get
the
it twisted.
smell?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, there's the
Careful.
thing. Okay, so the thing is, like, so here's the mom, right? Like the kid's mom came out to the alley, and she says that not only did it smell so crazy that she thought there was like horrible particles in her nose that she couldn't get out, but she alleges that she saw a space alien footprint in the alley that was like a three-pronged footprint. And that's the mom who says she never saw the alien, but she's came to the alley and the kids brought her back, and she saw some weird footprints and a crazy smell. And she draws the footprint, and it's like a three-toed like dinosaur foot basically.
But that footprint doesn't line up with what the other guy saw later. His description of the foot is a little different.
But that guy, so there's another, but I feel like that guy existing at all means that it wasn't a homeless guy. That second part of the story is like that wasn't the homeless guy that he saw, right? But the girls draw the aliens. They got three little baubles on top of their head, and they got red eyes, which the homeless guy doesn't have three rhino horns. So there, Dean.
Well, I mean,
and his eyes aren't that big.
I'm trying to find the picture right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a picture of him crouching over like that. Of course, the deep state went there and asked him to pose like that for the photo, Dean. That's why he looks like that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
CIA actually funded that.
So here's another fun part of the story. Right near that, there's allegedly two military police officers are driving around, and they see the dang space alien running across the road, like from South Park, basically. And they got these sweet cartoon pictures of it.
Oh, these pictures cracked me up, dude.
So they got the alien.
They have one later with a net. The alien just
extraterrestrials.
Exactly. So they got him running across the road there, and the reason we know this story is because one of the two military police officers in the car started talking about it as he was dying. That's why the story's even out. But But yeah, so they're talking about. So one of the police officers gets out and literally like 5-0 detains the alien.
Yeah,
Put him in an
that's
arm
the one
bar.
I'm thinking of. He's like, "Oh, come on, man! It wasn't even me. It was some other alien. Look at
just
his
trying to get home.
face. He's like, come on, dude, you got the wrong guy.
Give me a break.
It's Glorbop down the street, not me."
Lord Bob.
Exactly.
This is such a silly picture, dude.
Fucking
Okay.
Lord Bob.
All right, it's silly. It's silly, but this guy died, and he says he died because he touched the alien, and it got like okay, these drawings aren't doing it any help, but like they literally
Now he's passed out.
yeah, I mean they
He's like,
yeah
"I
he-
can't
they weren't
think,
doing good. Like you know how ET started getting sick after a while. Like these guys have been roaming the streets for like 2 weeks at this point, and like the Earth air is just not good. So this is the guy Marco Treisi was holding it. He legitimately died of unexplained causes. He had a real crazy infection that the doctors hadn't seen anything like. This
Wow.
guy was one of the doctors who was at the hospital at the time. He's a cardiologist, and he said he was there, and he's willing to buy the whole story. So but I don't know. It doesn't say if he personally interacted with him. It says he was in intensive care and he died from undetermined cause.
Which, again, is pretty false.
Okay, Dean, why is that false?
Okay, he had, and it's pretty well documented. Like I said, this YouTube video goes into the story. He had I'll pull up the name here in a second, but he had an infection in his elbow, way before this happened, and it got progressively worse. He died. The sister said, "Oh, he died because he might have been involved in this thing." She didn't even know.
Well,
But now she says it's for sure he was involved. So her story has changed as well.
but I mean, why? Like it's
Because they
I
were
don't know, man.
scared, Dean. They were scared to speak up.
Well, I mean, more than one of them says they were specifically threatened not to talk about it. So it's I don't know, man. And when you're close to that happening, you might follow the rules for a while. I don't know.
Yeah, he had
But,
he had a cyst in his elbow that again got progressively worse and it became infected. Now, I guess you could say the infection was the thing, but again, it was documented before any of this happened. The cyst in his elbow and the infection.
All right. Well, James Fox, if he knew about that, he should have included it because that's relevant. But that being the case makes the ending of the film really confusing to me.
I would say to that point, Chris, I actually enjoyed this way more than I was planning or expecting to. So
Yeah, it was fun.
The one knock I had is he never actually offered any counterpoints to anything, right? It was never, well, maybe it wasn't an alien. It could have been this. There was never any other side to this story.
Yeah, well,
That's true.
I mean,
But you also
it's-
don't want to like come at people, especially if you want them to talk to you. You don't want to be like, "Well, that doesn't make sense." You know what I mean?
No,
another
like,
amazing image.
you wouldn't necessarily confront them, right? But like to your point, he could have mentioned after, the suspicion of the cysts in the elbow or, something. But again, he was clearly after a certain narrative, right? It's not to say that it's wrong,
yeah.
but he has an objective here.
Okay. Also, with these photos, the size of the alien is getting vastly different. The first one, he was in handcuffs.
Look how tiny that guy's foot is, though, Dean. It's
in the
sports
back.
perspective.
No. But look at the guy next to him.
He's closer.
He's crouching and he's just up to his chest. If he was walking, he'd be the same height. And then earlier, he's carrying the alien, and it looks like the size of a dog.
There he's a little.
Look
there
how
he is.
small it is there. What the fuck is going on?
They're
It's like the
little
size of
guys.
beef jerky in this.
They're little guys.
It even looks like beef jerky.
This guy says they caught an animal in the forest. You don't think it's a space alien?
Like I
It's
said,
okay.
I think they thought it was the chupacabra.
Okay, so what do you make of this? This is the family we were talking about earlier. This is this is around the time the blockades are up and like there's people seeing him in the town. This whole family, apparently the mother and father are both doctors, and but they wanted to tell this, but they didn't want there to be on camera. But they're like, we saw
Yeah.
this
We don't
spaceship
want
flying
anyone
around.
to know who we are in this very small town and this very small neighborhood. And we're both doctors with a daughter. We don't want anyone to know.
Well, maybe they didn't know what his shot looked like, where you could easily figure it out. But
Oh shit.
but
It's like, how many
I
people
mean,
do you know that are both doctors that have a daughter? That one family? Yeah, that's he's
Yeah.
balding in the
The
back.
older guy
Yeah,
with
that's
the
the
gray
guy.
hair, balding.
well, I mean, it just I don't know, man. They like they like you're not even like becoming a local celebrity by telling the story. You know what I mean? So like I
That's
just don't
true.
know.
That's everybody has said that. They're like just kind of ruined our fucking lives. Which who would do that willingly?
Yeah, this guy just this guy like seemed like he was very taken aback by what he saw, and he's like, I don't know what I just saw this one weird part of it, and there's this UFO investigator really caught Mike's attention here.
Are we
in
going to
the
talk
picture.
about his translator on this episode?
I
Or
think
what?
that's his girlfriend. He called her
Is it?
he called her babe in a section of the video.
Oh, I
He's
missed
like,
that.
"Did you get it, babe? Did you get it?" Yeah.
I missed that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you know,
That explains a lot because she wasn't that great at her job.
some of the translations were the English was a bit loose, but you know, it's real time, Mike. You know, it's real time interview translation, right? But you know, like this is not a small town, right? Like I was saying, like all this alleged stuff happened real close together. And this guy says he saw them loading weird space alien coffins onto a military truck.
How big is he in that box?
It's got to be lead, you know. So it's like so he doesn't radiate out.
So Superman can't find him?
Yeah, and so you know, this guy was pretty cool. He was like an X-ray technician. He didn't want to be on camera, but he put this picture up of him working in there in the
Where's
80s.
the rest of his head?
He's blurred out there.
He has a flat top.
Yeah, that guy's an alien.
But you know, James Fox is vetting their credentials, even though he's not publishing it, right? Like he's not in. Like this guy provided paperwork showing he worked there at the time, and he says the army guys came in, made him X-ray something in a little body bag, and he wasn't allowed to look at the X-rays.
Is that why he's the only guy turned away? Everyone else is looking at it like this is interesting, and he's like, "No, I don't give a fuck."
Well, they
Give a
said he's
fuck.
not allowed to look at it. He says he usually
Look away.
verified.
And wear
Like, he
sunglasses so you look really cool.
I don't think that's supposed to be him, but I don't know. Maybe it
I
is.
know. I'm just kidding.
I don't know. He looks a little bit like that's how he looks now, but it's just like I mean, he says they wouldn't let him verify that the X-rays came out good. He wasn't even allowed
Was
to look at
he-
them.
Chris, was he somebody else basically confirmed the story of the smell, that
Yeah, it's him.
sulfury smell? Was it him? And right?
Yeah.
They had to shut down like that whole wing of the hospital or something.
He alleges they shut down part of the hospital to clean it because it smelled so bad. Which I mean, it'd be interesting to like Dean was saying he's saying some of the stories have changed. It'd be interesting to know like how early these various claims came out back in the day because like you know it's 1996. I bet you like nobody had internet in this town at that time. Like
Yeah.
I don't like it'd be harder to sort of pick up on each other's claims and sort of reiterate them and feed off them and like keep the narrative snowballing because they're not talking to each other all the time.
Right. It's one thing when you're talking to all the neighbors, right, that kind of lived in that little, couple square blocks, right? But now you're talking about, this, X-ray tech or whatever, his actual occupation was. What are the odds of him living in that same, because like you said, it's a big town, it's a big city, right? So,
Yeah.
somebody like him is not likely to be from that same little neighborhood as everybody else.
Yeah.
So for him the smell was the one thing that got me, right? Like, 'cause like you said about it could be the homeless guy, whatever, but the smell, and then this guy kind of said the same thing. That was the one part that kind of had had got my attention the most. Kind of made me think, okay, I'll pay attention.
Yeah. And so, he didn't see much. He said it was a weirdly small body bag, though, and he wasn't allowed to look in it. And they don't usually x-ray through body bags. He was talking about that. That was a bit unusual. And so here's another guy. This guy was codenamed Military X, and he says that he was driving the truck that had the space alien bodies in it from one hospital to another, and then eventually to a military base.
And this is okay. So they found 2 aliens, correct?
Yeah.
One was
Yes,
dead.
The guy arrested with handcuffs, and then one the fireman threw a net on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the one they threw the net on, which one was dead, I guess?
I think one of them lived for a little bit, but they both died.
Oh, they both died. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what they said. I don't know.
Probably
So
from fucking that.
They threw
fucking
this in
treating
there.
him like shit with the handcuffs.
Oh, for sure. And they threw this in there, which they say is an actual photo from the mission. So this guy says he was driving the truck with the space aliens, and they say this is an actual picture of the truck from that day. I guess
Bro,
they got it from
no
him.
way they're letting a vehicle get that close to them. Not only next to them, but behind them. If they're
Dude, this is not the U.S. Air Force. You know what I mean? Like
you just said a minute ago that they were just as sophisticated.
No, I was making a joke that that you don't believe that they're as sophisticated out of your cultural
Just
superiority.
not in their driving
complex.
ability.
Yeah.
Shut down the road. They had a blockade going.
No, but Dean, this is they haven't had aliens since the 40s like the U.S. has. This is their first time with alien bodies. Okay, they don't know they don't know the protocol.
No, that's not true. This place was a hotbed for alien activity.
They didn't have bodies before. They just saw them.
They didn't. Yeah, that's true. Just
they were ready.
So but this guy, I think this is the guy who says he saw the foot. And
Yeah.
hanging out of the body bag. Yeah, he's like, hey, look at this. This is great. So he's loading up the truck with the alien bodies, and he saw it like this, and he saw the little oily skin and like clawed toe. So this is what Mike was saying earlier. The description of the feet is a little different. The mom says that she saw like a 3-toed print that looks like a dinosaur footprint almost, and this is like more of like 2. And
well,
big
maybe
discrepancy.
Maybe the alien was standing in the mud like this, and then he pivoted. So the one toe went, and it made 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah, but she had that middle toe was like twice as big as the other.
Yeah,
that
she's
would
not an
make
artist.
sense if this toe is replacing this toe. It would make it look weird.
Nah, I don't buy it.
So so you think this
That's
guy's more
not
accurate?
how alien toes work.
Look, I could draw it and explain it. Hold on.
You know what the mom's drawing reminded me of? The mom's
There's
drawing
no way
reminded
Dean's gonna draw a better picture than these guys.
me. Dean, the mom's drawing reminded me of the leprechaun from Mobile, Alabama, like the police sketch of like the crappy leprechaun picture from that Fox News story. I don't know if you guys remember.
Because she drew it like this. Here, in fact, I'll do this live.
Okay. Well, she also drew the pad was like massive. There was like this big circle and then 3 toes coming out of it. But yeah, this guy saw the aliens' bodies in a little box, greasy feet.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. So she kind of drew it like this. Like it was kind of round, and there was this toe like this, then a big toe, and then like another toe, right? So
Yeah.
what if the alien was standing like this? All right. And then it took a step and pivoted.
Then his big toe would be bigger on the outside.
Dude, this is like a Giorgio Tsoukalos explanation.
This
is
is like the O.J.
ancient
Simpson
aliens.
case, man. It doesn't fit. You must have quit.
You know,
Well,
I've
what if
seen
he
work.
like? What, I don't know. What if he's like stepped and like? I don't know.
Okay, so I've seen James Fox try and explain the discrepancy in an interview, and
Really?
James Fox tried to explain this discrepancy in an interview, and he was sort of implying that the reason is because there's like a dactyl, like thumb-like toe on the side that sometimes it's along the side and sometimes it splays out to like grab onto stuff.
Well, yeah, it's right, because that's where I initially thought they were going. So when they first started, the second guy first started talking about the foot, I was very intrigued, right? Because he was kind of doing like the Spock thing, right? And he had his thumb out, and that made me think like, okay, that kind of matches. But then they kind of abandoned that and just said it was V-shaped.
Yeah.
So
Or
who knows?
like a velociraptor where the toe comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if they need
Well,
extra grip or something.
yeah, that's how he described it. I forget which witness what Glenn made him start talking about that, but this driver says that he noticed one of the military police officers had a big old VHS video camera, but he didn't seem like he was using it much. This is, the chase, the white whale of this case is that tape, and James Fox has been talking about it a lot in the 3 years since this movie has come out, and according to him, has a couple near misses, and
Okay.
knows of the location of it, but apparently the guy who has a copy of it won't release it without a public letter from the Brazilian Air Force saying he's allowed to release it.
That's interesting
Which,
because I was wondering why they mentioned that because they didn't really go into that detail.
Why
yeah,
would just some? I guess is he still in the military? Because like, why
he,
would they just let some dude keep a tape with aliens on it?
if I remember correctly, at some point in the early 2000s, he was in charge of archiving all the tapes at the base.
Oh,
If that's what he's saying.
that's the story. Okay, that
Yeah.
makes
He doesn't want to lose
sense.
his
At
pension,
least
man.
that makes sense, right? Like,
Yeah. Well, unless he digitized it without permission and has it at home, in which case he doesn't want his house to get like swatted, basically. But
yeah.
but yeah, so they apparently the bodies ended up at the ISA Army base. This guy says he brought it there. He thought it was a burnt man, and the guy said he was talking to said it's not a burnt man while they were loading up that box. And they show the route there. Okay, so there's the little addendum to the story is that like a United States Air Force plane lands without permission of the Brazilian government and allegedly scoops the bodies and whatever material was picked up from the crash site.
Yeah, this part confused me because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they say that the U.S. helicopters or whatever when they landed, they came to that, how do you say it, that Vahina or whatever town.
Yeah.
But by this point, the other guy's story was that it's not there anymore. He's already driven it to like these two other cities.
But there are also witnesses who say they were questioned by Americans about the incident, so they might have gone on an interviewing campaign through the town as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
There's
that
some
that
people who
part was just
remember
confusing me
Americans.
because I wasn't sure. Obviously you could say maybe they were there and they got wreckage for the ship or whatever, but it seemed like that they've swooped in to take the body didn't seem to jive because it didn't feel to me that the body would have been there at this point. Not to say again that they weren't there for other reasons, but that just didn't seem to line up.
Yeah, maybe it's just to try and make sure nothing's left behind. Hard to say. But yeah, like these guys. So the mom says she was visited and threatened not to talk about it. This guy says he was threatened not to talk about it by like military police. Some of them mention Americans.
They tried to pay the mom off. Supposedly, they offered her a briefcase full of cash or something.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I
well,
mean,
that story also changes. When they first asked her, she says they implied that they would pay her, and then later on in other interviews, she mentions a briefcase full of cash. It's like, don't you think you would remember that immediately? Like,
yeah, I mean,
to be fair, it's almost a 30-year-old case at this point. I think it's
and
like 20,
yeah,
26 years or something when this documentary
yeah.
came out.
It's
So
tough,
people's
right? Because,
memories can change, but like,
and
Sure.
then when they gave those first interviews, they probably they couldn't have foreseen the internet is forever culture where like I can in 2 seconds I can pull up what she said in 1996. Like that's probably so far beyond their comprehension at the time they're giving these interviews. Like they might have got a little loose with the language because
And
they,
why wouldn't
you know,
they just take the money? Like,
Well, they already
She
gave
said,
news interviews about it, so it's kind of like you're
yeah,
gonna have
that's
to
what I'm
say
like,
that you made
just
it up.
take it,
Yeah,
right? I don't know.
but you're gonna say that you made it up after all the commotion you caused on the
Well,
news and all
I
that.
guess to that point, yeah. Like, what do you? Is that the condition of the money? You have to come out and say that you lied, or is it just stop talking about it?
Yeah, I don't know, but this is okay. So the whole thing you were saying, Dean, about the guy, so he had a pre-existing like cyst or something in his arm that might have killed him. So they drive out. This is near the end of the movie. They drive out to the supposedly the other guy who was in the car when they arrested the aliens. When they handcuffed that one alien, threw him in the back of the squad car, and
This was the guy that was like, "We will arrest him, but I ain't fucking touching him."
yeah, yeah, this is the guy who didn't touch the greasy alien and die from it. And but he sticks his head out the window and he says, "I'll kick you out with bullets."
Yeah,
Well,
that was great.
at one instance, you could see the barrel of the gun pointed at them, and I'm like, were you people not paying attention? Because they're just
The,
like
the, be-
standing there looking at him,
the
and I'm
best
like,
is that he
whoa.
has he has no idea what he's saying. Like, he keeps looking at the interpreters, but they
Yeah.
wouldn't tell him what he was saying. And this guy's just like, "I'm gonna fucking shoot you," and he's just standing there like, "Huh? What's he saying?" I was laughing at that part because he just couldn't get him to listen.
Right.
Jason Nelson says, "Coming in late. So are there aliens verified for sure? Question mark. What happened to that whole panel of alien admittance from the U.S. a few years ago?" Well, that's the problem, Jason, because it wasn't from the U.S. It was just from Navy pilots who we don't trust, and I of course we trust them, and high-ranking intelligence officials who even some of the guys who gave Trump his daily security briefing in his first term. Fully believe there's a space alien cover up. And the real problem is, if there's not, you guys got to sort out why all those guys think that there is, because they are making important decisions every day. And like they shouldn't, those guys should not believe that if it's not true. That's not good. But
Yeah, that's our biggest problem at the moment, Chris.
no, I mean, if the guy briefing Trump every morning in his first term thought there was a 80-year space alien reverse engineering cover up, that's not good.
But also
'Cause
not surprising.
What else does he believe that is like from internal knowledge? But so this guy,
Same
that
guy
guy
that told
won't.
him tariffs work.
Well,
Yeah.
well, that guy, he's a serviceman. He was in Afghanistan and Iraq before Trump was running for office. So, but for it seems the people who get involved in this, they're really just taking credibility away from what was like a spotless record. Basically, it's kind of weird. But this guy, they say they want to talk to him about the aliens, and he's not having it. He's like, maybe he's just crazy and doesn't want to talk to people. But
Or maybe he's been harassed for the past 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, I
doesn't
don't
seem
have
like
shit
it.
to say to you people. Leave me alone. I'm just some dude.
Yeah, there's a reason he was kind of off the grid here too, right? Like, that's how I felt too. Like, he's just tired of people rolling up to his doorstep to
well,
ask about a 30-year-old story.
it doesn't seem like the rest of the key witnesses get bothered that much about it. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
you know
because
what I
they're
mean?
willing to talk. So it's like, if you had a question, you could look through 100 articles where they've talked about it. This
This
dude
guy has not.
refuses to talk. So people are really interested in what he has to say.
Yeah, especially when he's threatening people to get off his lawn. Jason says the real question is the countries of the world can't agree on government, religion, and other ways of living. Yet every government has agreed not to admit to reveal anything about aliens. Not
That's
every
probably one of the most fucking how do I want to say that? Compelling
valid point.
arguments for there not
Yeah,
being
it's pretty on
aliens.
point.
Well, I don't think every government knows about it. I think like 4 of them do. But yeah, man.
Who's your
you
top
gotta have-
4, Chris?
Well, basically, America, China, and Russia, and then and occasionally, the U.S. once in a while lets it one of the Five Eyes buddies, like Australia or Canada, New Zealand, lets them do something for him just for plausible deniability reasons. So I think once in a while they get involved for that sort of thing.
So Brazil is not even making your top four.
Well, apparently the U.S. Air Force landed without authorization and just like jacked all the stuff. So that's what they say happened. So they did this really.
That would explain why this guy was so pissed. He's
Yeah,
like, I should
janky.
fucking know, but nobody will tell me anything.
See, this is
Nobody tells me nothing.
Judd Ed says unless the aliens are Tyrians, he's not interested. Well, that's the problem, right?
That's my sister.
Your lack of interest is why it's not an important issue for Trump.
The only aliens I care about right now are costing us billions of dollars. They're not little green men. They're
Carlos.
brown and they're mean.
Well, these ones are kind of brown too, but I don't know. But they're not mean.
Oh, Jesus.
But
Kind of brown.
this
Only a Canadian could get away with that.
well, they're like, I mean, you saw the cartoons, man. It's an objective fact. But this he reminds us he's got nothing out of it. He's just doing his thing. And there's a little title card saying that they're pursuing the VHS of the space alien bodies in the hospital.
Bro, at this point, I was like, okay, the documentary's over.
Yeah.
There's fucking way more shit in the credits than the rest of the fucking movie.
Yeah,
Is there
but
really? I
When is
turned
this
it
gonna
off.
end? No, dude.
Oh,
It keeps going.
Well, this
know.
guy. Well, here's a military police officer who thinks it all happened, but I guess they couldn't fit him in narratively, so they put a little piece of him in the end there. And yeah, that. But I got a little bit of behind the scenes stuff here. Yeah, so I was gonna mention, that it was cool to see Stanton Friedman there. James Fox, since the documentaries came out, has done a few interviews talking about his chase for that VHS. He said that the widow of one of the people who might have had a copy of it gave him a bunch of hard drives, saying it's probably in one of these, and it wasn't in any of those hard drives. Don't you know it? And here's that picture of the homeless guy that we.
Okay,
brought up
I have a
earlier.
better one here.
You got the pose.
Look at this, dude. That motherfucker could be an alien.
I mean, he's got a blue shirt on. Doesn't really look like an alien.
Yeah, but after the storm came through, it was probably all wet and muddy.
Yeah, but it's okay. But the pose
smelling
is the
like
same.
sulfur.
But like, it's a pretty
Well-
common pose for living on the street.
That's the thing, because the girl, the mother said sulfur, but the girl, I guess that was the nanny, said ammonia, which is piss. You got a dude living in an alley pissing everywhere. I mean, come on.
But that's, I mean, the
So much
teenage-
piss that they had to shut down a hospital wing for a week to clean it.
But okay, the one girl was what, like 17 or something. She's not gonna mistake this guy for an alien. It's not gonna. The kids, whatever.
What
know
if
what I
he
mean?
found a cool pair of sunglasses on the street and they were red tinted and he was fucking covered in mud and piss? Like,
You crack the case. That's it. Yeah. No,
I'm
that's
just
good.
saying, like, that's a pretty compelling argument. Like, we know, we have photo evidence. This guy,
He's
there
just
is
sitting like
zero
that.
photo evidence of alien.
Yeah,
You know what I
Probably
mean?
told
Like,
him, hey, squat down like this, shrug your shoulders.
no, those are just photos people have of this guy because that's what he does. He like sits on the street corner. In fact, they
Yeah.
have another one where it's blurred out, and he
Okay.
just like
How do you explain the
walks
horns?
around.
Oh, you got it. All right. I'll put it back. Yeah.
He
All
just
right.
like walks around and like looks for shit on the street and plays with rocks. Like, that's how people know him.
That's
I
the
heard when
life.
the documentary was made, he was still around that town too. I don't know if he's still alive at this point, but they should have interviewed him in the documentary. But yeah, so like ever since there's been some phony videos and pictures like alleging to be the real deal. This was like one of those like short film projects, but the stills from it go around once in a while on Reddit. Like somebody finally found the alien
It's an
pictures.
alien.
Here's a guy. This guy did a cool CGI recreation of the creature. I thought that's pretty nice. That's wholesome. Look at that nice little ET there.
That looks nothing like the homeless guy.
And here's a recent update from February from James Fox saying, I'm right now in touch with 2 American witnesses that were involved in the flight, meaning the flight that supposedly took all the goodies out of the country. So he's saying right now, like a couple weeks ago, that he's talking to people who were involved in the flight. So that's presumably going to be part of his director's cut or a sequel documentary. So that's, I mean, I'm saying if you can confirm that flight happened, that's kind of big because it's like, was it actually unannounced? What details do they have from that, right? Where did it end up after it left there? Because you'd have to explain a stop in at that military base and then going straight to wherever the goods were stored. There'd have to be a reason for that flight.
Area 51.
There is.
Hello.
I feel like that could be explained away almost too easily, though, right? Like, hey, we had some proprietary tech that we had out there, lost control and crashed. I mean, it would definitely be cool to confirm this, but I feel like that's too easy of something for them to explain away.
Depends what these guys are alleging, I guess, and what their actual jobs were.
Sure, right? They can give information on what they brought back, or
yeah.
Because that's my whole thing. It's like the technology that governments have is so like advanced that like by the time we find out something happened, and it's like, oh yeah, the government has had this for the past 50 years.
sure.
You're like, what the fuck?
It seems to be more like 20, not 50, but I hear what you're saying.
And I would
But
say
a 20-year leap in
that gap
technology is
closing.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like Mike was just saying. I think that because of the internet and the ease of access to experimental computer technology and engineering, it's like I feel like it's harder to keep that stuff secret because you have parallel teams researching stuff all the time. And I mean, if they have way better ways of doing the stuff that SpaceX is doing, they sure are spending a lot of taxpayer dollars having SpaceX.
It's not their dollars. What do they give a fuck about?
Well, national debt. Oh, I guess they only started caring about that last week or whatever. But like, I don't know, man. It just seems like why are you holding your own country back if you have all that technology? So Dean is not sold. I think this was a thoroughly entertaining documentary.
Oh, I enjoyed it. It just
You just don't believe
this.
that it's
There's not a single piece of physical evidence anywhere. It's
well, there
all.
wouldn't be.
It's all. Well, that's
If
not
there
true.
was-
I mean,
no,
at
if there
least the people that came to the government had video and audio. There's nothing.
So Dean, where you land here? That's like a 2.
I would give it a 3. Like I enjoyed it, but like I was also pretty familiar with it, so it was basically just rehashing a bunch of shit I've already heard.
Okay.
All
All right. Well,
yeah, it was enjoyable. It was like I said, I thought it was gonna be jank as shit, and I ended up like enjoying it. So
cool. Yeah, I'm a 4. Dean's a 3. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I'd probably put it about a 3 too. I'm kind of the same spot. I didn't expect much from it. I'm gonna be honest. I was each day for the last couple of days like I gotta watch this. I'm like I don't fucking want to watch this. And then I sat down and I too thoroughly enjoyed it. Now I didn't get anything from it that convinced me of this. And unlike you guys, I really knew nothing about this. I did recognize the picture of the alien when it came up, and I was like, oh, I've seen that before. But beyond that, I didn't really know. And that being said, I am a believer in extraterrestrial life out there somewhere, but nothing because of this film. But as a film or a documentary, I did enjoy it, and I would watch, like you said, the director's cut or a part 2 of it for sure.
Yeah, like if he actually gets a substantial amount of more testimonials of people that haven't come out yet, that would be interesting. But yeah. So
You're
I
muted, D.
Yeah, really quick. I put in the comments the episode to the Y files of this specific, not only incident, but the documentary.
right.
And he does a really good job. My sister said it earlier. He does a really good job of he always, every one of his videos kind of follows a format, and he introduces the story as fact. This is what happened. And then at the
Okay.
end of the video, maybe the last 5 or 6 minutes, he gives all the counter evidence to the contrary. So it's a really nice, like, oh, okay, well this is kind of where it falls apart, and
Well,
it's really
yeah,
good.
but yeah,
I would say
have seen it.
that was the
Yeah.
only thing missing for me from this, right? Was the counter argument at some point.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the counter argument is, which I'm not comfortable with, is that say the three girls saw the homeless guy. Everybody else is just lying in that case. They mistake it. So that's these two assumptions. They mistakenly thought a homeless guy was an alien, and everybody else is lying for their own amusement.
a little
Especially
kid
Carlo.
in an alley.
No, but they saw something for real. They just misidentified a sketchy guy. But everybody else is lying for fun.
Or clout. Because like I said, or I don't even know if I finished the point earlier. These girls never said alien, right? Whether they
And
knew
they
what
say
an
that in the
alien was or
documentary.
anything.
They say they thought
Right.
it was a demon or something. Yeah.
It wasn't until their story went public and some astrophysicist guy was like, aliens, that a bunch of people started coming forward like, I saw something, I saw something, I saw something. So
Okay,
I
but you're
mean-
saying the two farm people and Carlos D'Souza got together to get their story straight, and they both totally making it up.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like it's
Well, 'cause
kind
if-
of like what
I
is
mean-
it? Occam's razor. The simplest solution or the simplest answer is usually the one. Is
Usually.
it aliens and a giant cover up and a government conspiracy, or are people fucking crazy?
Well, but I mean, that's true until you factor in the like 50 other credible people who say they've seen different things.
But okay, but credibility goes out the window when their stories change, which almost every single person's story has changed over the years.
Not,
But
I don't
again,
know if it's that much. Like
I
they play
will
old
say-
interviews.
I
Like,
will say 30
Carlos-
years, people's memory shifts. Like, I'm not discounting that, but
Yeah, but
it's
they
like,
do
well, you
play
said
some of
one
the
thing and now
96.
you're saying something else. Because the girls were like, we don't know who that homeless guy is. And then later on, they were like, oh, yeah, we know who he is. Like, that's the guy. So,
Well,
you
but I
can't
mean,
take
but-
everything at fact, dude. Like, people
Yeah,
lie.
I mean, I guess so. Like the kids saw the homeless guy. So then, like 2 or 3 military dudes
Little
are making a
kids
totally.
See
Yeah,
something shifting along the fence. Oh, let's get the fuck out of here. They said it. They were afraid and they ran. They didn't even look
Yeah.
back.
And
So
their mom wants to believe them, and she's even saying that some alien dust got in her nose and bothered her for like a week. Like she's just making that up just for fun. And also like the army guy saw the alien foot out of the coffin. He's making that up just for fun. And it's the whole smell matching the other guys. He's making that up just for fun. And Carlos D'Souza is out there crying in a field on camera 26 years later after he hasn't been grifting whatsoever. He's just having an emotional breakdown where he saw the craziest thing he ever saw in his whole life, and he's just doing it for a laugh. I don't know if I believe
I
it,
don't know
guys.
either. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying like you also kind of have to be skeptical because if you just believe everything people say, you know.
I think
Extraterrestrials.
I had to use it one more time. But
Yeah, because like again, like there's no photos.
yeah,
There's no-
well, it's
There's no
1996 was bad enough for personal video cameras in North America. I'm pretty sure in Virginia, Brazil, most people didn't have a camcorder.
you're not
But
wrong.
Believe it or not, I found one collectible related to this story, not to this film.
Oh, really? Somebody made an
And-
alien figure?
It's a dang model kit of the little
Oh,
crouching
wow.
Oh my
Mars alien.
god, that's amazing.
That's actually really cool. And you don't even need to paint it, just color in the eyes.
There you go. You
Wow.
could, I mean, they give it a little bit of a wash there. That's a nice paint job on the demo picture there. But
Just
yeah,
buy them and apply them. That's a good slogan.
yeah. This company makes like Halloween and like movie prosthetics for face appliances, but they randomly have this little alien model kit in their
That's
shop.
crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
very basic construction there, but yeah, man. I don't know. That's a fun one. I don't know. This
Seamless
is
elbows on that thing.
They even did the fucking brick wall, dude. That's hilarious.
it's like Moodang basically. Put them next to your little hippo. But
Looks like
I
fucking
don't.
Schmiegel.
Yeah, it's 1/5 scale. So obviously these guys aren't collectors because like, what are you doing with that 1/5? That doesn't work
Yeah,
with
but in
anything.
fairness to Dean's point, we have no idea what the scale of this alien is. He's
Well,
done
ever
those
since
drawings. He's
well,
either 2 feet or 7 feet tall.
yeah, that homeless guy looked pretty tall, so that doesn't really match the like beef jerky description of all the other guys who saw the alien. So I don't know if I believe that, but yeah, I mean that was a fun chat. Any final thoughts before we get into our Patreon read here, guys? What do you think of this movie?
Yeah, like I said, it was good. It was uh, a lot higher quality than I went in expecting.
You're not convinced. If you had to say
I'm
was
not.
it aliens, it was not aliens.
I
You're
don't
the
think it
same,
was
Mike.
aliens.
I would say nothing in this convinced me, but like I said, I am one who even though I've never really seen anything that convinces me, but I just have a hard time believing, the we are alone, theory of it all. So I'm
Right.
very open to the idea of it, but nothing in this documentary makes me think, well, this is it. But again, I enjoyed it. Like I said, no joke. The last couple of days I've been putting it off, putting it off. I was even bitching to the wife, like I gotta watch this fucking thing,
Oh man,
and I truly did enjoy it.
that's
It's
good.
definitely worth watching. If you got a couple hours, nothing to do, put this on. It's
Yeah.
fun to watch.
Listen, if it wasn't at least entertaining, I wouldn't have tried to get you guys to watch it. But I have some common sense in that regard. But
I'm gonna be
yeah,
honest. If anybody else told me to watch it, I probably wouldn't have. But I had faith in you.
yeah,
I've
it was
never been steered wrong by Chris. He's a good guy.
You right?
Anyway.
there. You go. So we want to thank our Patreonies. We got Captain Fordo, Ian CB, Renee Mendez, Eric Mariscal, Quinn Aguirre, King Louis, Mark Pearson, Paul Schreiber, Equan, Chris Valencerina, Ben Thomas, David Jones, Sam Gist, Joao Bretta, Thomas Clark, Eric Schweitzer, Six Guns Figs, Badfish, Joe Corpus, Luke Skywalker, Dan Lee, Deanie Martin, who I guess we had in the chat today. That's cool. Big
Yep.
Fern, Caesar American, Mark Phillips, Lisa Martin Bomonsky, Rick De Gregorio, Ricardo Valdez, and Deanie also doesn't think it was aliens apparently. Jose CZ, Alad Morgan, Tukathri Wah, Derek B, Aries Portillo, Alvin J, Mario Delgado, Aurelius Delgado, Toy Cartel, Sith Scale Collector, Jared Gagne, Alberto Cortez, Big Rib, Trevor Weed, Darren Ilderton, Matt Clevenger, Dom Matan, Stephen Percha, Sean Yotzi, Scott Bradley, Stephen Maria Stanley, Eddie Manzanares, Louis Bennett, Chip Perrin, Exodus, Abe Dunk TV, and Gigi the Judgmental. Thanks so much, guys. And if you want to join Patreon, you can get on the hot seat for $5 a month for the digital benefits. You can get on Discord and the Patreon chat on Messenger, and you can also get access to the new show that is CW Plus. That's live after the main show every Tuesday. And then you move up from there to Sweet Angel, and you start getting access to some of the printed benefits, which are these awesome stickers. And your March, April stickers, if you're in the Patreon, are the Maximum Spooderman, which I mean, it's interesting that Zach put this here because he's a champion of the Maximum Spider-Man action figure, but he's also denigrating it with this poorly drawing of Spider-Man. I don't really know where he stands on it at this point. And then we got the glorious CW Movie Night logo making its first appearance in a Patreon exclusive sticker. That you love to see that. So if you I don't know, you can probably still get in on this one. I don't know when they go out, but if you haven't signed up and you want some cool stickers, it's a pretty solid pair. And then we got our YouTube channel members here. Absolute Irwin, Alvin J, Amanda Dobbs, Andrew Gibo, Benjamin Hansen, Big Ol' Fern, Bob Dylan, CC3PO, Chris V, CT603, DJ Daminator, Doc Smizzle, Equan, Fat Batman, Gare Bear, Good Ol' Spotchka, Gotham Cenobites, Justin Sports Card, Jared Gagne, LV Avenger 702, Mark Pearson, Mike Litteris, Money Mendez, OG Fan, OMFG Rick, 1/6 Figure Focus, Paul Schreiber, Philip the Fool, S Beam, Sam Gist, Scarnlord, SpongeBob SquareBalls, Sunnyvale Russ, The Ben Thomas Show, Toy Mafia, Exodus, and Trevor Weed. Thanks very much for joining there, guys. I know there are a bunch of new YouTube member icons and tiers that I, for some reason, forgot to put the slide in for. But Zach's not going to watch till this late if he watches it at all. So and Dean probably won't tell on me. So I think I'm off the hook there. and yeah, his look at the network. OFAC did put out a new episode, I think, last Thursday. So you can check that out. And you got the main show at live every Tuesday night for all your 1/6 figure news and reviews. Small Talk alternating Thursdays, so that'll be coming up next Thursday. You're watching Movie Night, After Dark's live every Wednesday night, and you need to be a Patreon member to watch the replays, as well as CW Plus is live every Tuesday night for the Patreon members. And Just Another Friday Night is doing a lot of movie and TV recaps of some modern stuff for you if you want to check that out. But that's pretty much it, guys. So I hope you had fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll pace it out a while before we make you watch another space alien documentary.
Maybe movie night should just turn into like an alien show.
I don't know if you guys would survive more than a couple more episodes of that, but
just all out conspiracy theories.
Extraterrestrials.
Exactly.
That fucking noise at the end. Yeah, if you like this, let us know if you want to see more alien conspiracy theory videos, or if you have movie suggestions you think would be fun to watch and make fun of, like Triple X.
Yeah, exactly. That was a good time. I think I'm glad. I'm sort of glad for the sake of the show that you guys weren't really buying some of the content in this documentary. Made for a better discussion, really. But yeah, that was fun. I'm glad we finally did it because this has been a favorite of mine ever since it came out. And thanks for watching, Chuck, Toy Mafia, Deanie. It was great having some action in the chat there. Do the 10 Commandments for Easter. Oh man, Charlie Heston classic with the cartoon waves, part in the Red Sea with Cartoon Sea. That's a good one.
That was a cartoon?
Hand drawn. Prince of Egypt. That movie's a badass.
I mean, I like the Ridley Scott one with Christian Bale as Moses. That's fun times, man. With the God's like a little kid who's all pissed off. It's great. But anyways, that was awesome. Well, we don't know what we're doing next for our next episode, but if you're in the Patreon chat or Aux, you'll know about it ahead of time. And yeah, thanks
Toy
for coming
Mafia
out, guys.
always supporting. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, man, providing evidence that he stayed till the end. You'd love to see it. And all right, guys. Well, thanks for joining. Have a good night.
Theory there.
He somehow prompted that to comment near the end. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Set it up.
Yeah, it's got an algorithm on his computer.
All right. Have a good night, guys. See you.
Bye.